Right, shush. Jan, come up here. If you can make it.
Bless you.
My wife and I, it's 50 years and 1 day since I've been allowed to say that. Are you want to wear it? That's why you're here. Thank you, obviously, for the presents that we've received. And the biggest present we've received is your presents. Yeah. What can we say about that? No? Can you read that? Some of you have been sort of commenting on my card. Yeah. They're saying what a tatty looking bloody thing it is. And I think this one plays up better than I have. So I'm quite happy. I've ordered it to Jenny's wedding. I've ordered it to Peter's wedding.
You tight soul. Someone buy him a tie.
Can you read it? What's the next bit?
Get a good computer. It is computer.
Oh yeah. 50 years. Fair distance, it's a fair distance. So, out of that we've got 2 kids. Would have been more, but I gave you. I'm not a queen, you see. And Stan, I promise you, one of these days I will pay you for the cars for the wedding. I've only been promising it for 50 years and 1 day, so you might be lucky about that. I'm not poor. Just for chocolate root, what's not with it? Two kids, which we are very proud of. What can we say? We're just proud. They, in turn, have produced 2 kids, of which we are very proud. Mind you, they tend to look down on us. Over there, and he's not even looking.
What?
And on top of that, we've got 4 grandpups. We're not too proud of them, because they keep leaving their deposits on my lawn. But apart from that, sorry. What's next? I would give one tip to any young people. Are there any young people? Don't marry because it plays havoc with the bloody wife. Honestly. And I did. It's taken a long time, but she's caught up with me. Oh yeah. Our first tea when Stan came, when we first got married, and he came to town. Fairy cakes, then kippers. Boiling bag kippers was all Jane could cook at the time.
Have you moved on then?
We're sorry about the diarrhea, mate. Sorry. We'll boil them a bit longer next time. Read the next bit. What's on the Yes. Unfortunately, the invitation we sent out with the long photograph, a lot of them are not here anymore. And I would just love to raise a toast to them, because there's an awful lot of them, and we miss every one of them. I would, if I had a drink, I would. Two absent friends, those who couldn't make it tonight.
Cheers.
I'm not really. I thanked everybody for coming. But the one I haven't done,
See you again.
what? She's still here. Can't be bad, can't be bad.
She's got staying power.
She has, yeah. She's got a bit more than that, but what else? She needed more of that. Anyway, did we do the toast?
Yeah.
No. Well, that's all I've got to say, really. Thank you very much for coming. And it's lovely to see every single one of you. Some of you have come a little bit further than others. You know, some are around the corner, some are in Canada, some in America. There's one in New Zealand. I tend to forget them. Bloody colonials. No, there's only one of you. But the family is here from America. It's lovely. It's lovely to see you. New friends, yeah. Old friends. She's an old friend, believe it or not. Yeah. I'm not sure about a friend, he's old. You got Evie here? I mean, blimey. How long have we known you, Eve? Christ. Yeah, it must be. Yeah, all of them. I'm looking around the room. Mine. Who else do you drink? You left-handed cow.
Oh! I feel that.
Yeah, she reads automatically because she's left-handed, and everybody else puts a drink down on the right hand, so she reaches for it. I've lost many a drink that way over the years, but so what? Anyway, I think I've finished. Have I finished? Right, I've finished. Thank you. Thank you.
Come on, Jen.
Isn't everybody going to shout more? Family debate.
Can't warn me about the hearing. We're bringing the 60s back.
Welcome to everyone. So come. Is this working?
It's working.
Oh, okay. That's it. Welcome everyone. Thanks for coming. Especially all those who have come from a very long way away. It's so good to see family and friends. It's so easy to lose touch. Before you know it, 10, 20, 30 years have passed. It's just crazy. But tonight is about celebration and remembering. We're celebrating the lasting love between Mum and Dad. We're also remembering the things that make them special to us. Jenny and I had our own thoughts on that. This is a family occasion. The older Jenny and I get, the more apparent it becomes that we couldn't have asked for a better Mum and Dad. The care they lavished on us, even when circumstances were far from easy, is, well, I got stuck here for an appropriate word, but the one that keeps coming to mind is amazing. It's just amazing. As I say, the more people we meet and the more stories that we hear about other people's families and upbringing and so on, it's just very plain that we've been extremely lucky. So, Anyway, so Jenny and I are tag teaming on this, so I'll pass this way over. I think you need to come this way, so it doesn't.
I'm just going to wear Uncle Stan's glasses because I left my reading glasses at home, so he's lent me his. And they work.
Old age shows no dignity.
Dad credits Mum with looking after the pennies. He said that they wouldn't be where they were now if it wasn't for Mum being the sensible one. If it was up to him, they'd be destitute and they'd have spent every penny. Mum credits Dad with doing all the work. Their times have been tough. They started off in tough little parking rooms, they had to share the toilet and bath and everything else. And now they're living in a bungalow in a private road down by the sea. And it's been because basically Dad just hasn't stopped working and Mum right the way through. So, they have done an awful lot. I'm going off Peter's theories and get really annoyed again. Dad worked in the brigade, and not only did he work in the brigade, but he'd come home and then he'd go to another job and he'd work that, and then sometimes he'd go straight then back to the brigade. So, it could be 4 days before we'd see him because he was working solidly, and then Mum would have to look after us. And she always said if anything was going to go wrong, it would go wrong then. So yeah, yeah, that's what it did. And and Mum worked as well, and she trained as a nursery nurse, and then she ended up being the only female manager in the aircraft industry, and so she did brilliantly there. A lot to be proud of in that one as well. So they've done really, really well, and it's been quite a journey for them and for us because they've taken us with us. And if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here now. So it's been brilliant. One of the biggest memories we've got from when we were younger, there used to be something called SAPS, which was the Shrewsbury and Peterborough Society. Now, Mum and Dad had us quite young, and it was tough. They never had much fun. They worked really, really hard, and then they got to be mid-30s, and we were old enough to be sort of left on our own. And they were with a group of people of similar age, and they created this society. And all the mums and dads would be gone. There'd be Uncle Roy, Auntie Eve, and then there'd be Auntie Viv, Uncle P. Oh, so many, just wouldn't know where to go, and they'd be gone, and there'd be parties going on down the road, and we'd be sitting indoors, and we'd know where the party was, because we'd hear Dad above everyone else, and even above the music. You could hear him singing above everything. Because all the kids would all be left like in a pool, and we'd have to look after ourselves while they were having such fun. And we'd go swimming, and we'd go for picnics. We came down here to West Wittering for picnics, so we all came down here, and it was brilliant. It was just another great big family, and it meant that Mum and Dad could actually start to enjoy themselves when they were still relatively young. It was lovely, and we all were part of it. It was brilliant. We used to go to visits for air shows, so there'd be Mitch, all of us, and Paul. We all used to go to the air shows, and there was one particular time I can remember we were in the back. I don't know if you remember this, Paul. We had the estate car, and there was Peter and Mitch sitting in the back when you were allowed to do that then. Me and you in the middle, and the mum and dad, and something made Mitch start laughing. And when you start laughing, you don't know why you're laughing, but you get hysterical and you have tears running down your face. So Mitch was like that. Peter's like, yeah. Oh, we always had laughing Mitch, didn't we? Do you remember that? And it was just hysterics.
Biggin Hill air show.
Biggin Hill, yeah, something like that. It was just hysterical, and that's a really strong memory because Mum and Dad sit in the front. Now, you'd think after driving all the way there, they'd be really peed off with these kids in the back having hysterics, but they were joining in. So, no, it was brilliant fun.
Well, your dad was drunken most of the time.
Most of the time? All of the time. Okay, where did you get up to?
I was drunk.
In 1993 you sobered up.
So, as Jenny was saying, there was no money, but we still had the memorable holidays and lots of activities for us kids. And it was just for families that were, not exactly rolling in money. It was just a great environment to grow up in, and it was a very safe environment. The streets were safe, it was good. As far as family are concerned, Jenny and I were talking about this the other day, and we could easily have burned the midnight oil talking about family and family parties You know, particularly the Quins, and nobody throws a party quite like a Quin. And we both have very clear memories of it from probably some of my earliest memories of Quin parties. You know, it was it left quite an impression on us, and just with being loved and everybody having a great time. It was just an important part of our growing up. So thank you for that. On the personal front, for me, I mean, I think Mum and Dad instilled a lot of values in us that work for us still. We've carried through these three into our adult life, and you know, Jenny and Phil have instilled them in their son and daughter. And I'm doing the best without two dogs. But it's not working out very well with one of them. There are lots of memories growing up that make me proud, and I thought I would give one just simple example that I often think of, even now. It was actually quite recent. This was only probably 7 years ago. We were in Bognor, just down the road here, and we pulled into the side of the road when Dad was driving, and after a minute or so we realised that we needed to go somewhere else, so Dad reversed to pull out, and in that 30 seconds or whatever, somebody pulled in behind us, so Dad reversed into them. Not badly, just, you know, a bit of a bump. And, and this lady got out of the car, and she was just apoplectic. She was just effing grinding, she was just swearing, and just really in Dad's face, and just really giving him a hard time, and just really over the top. And Dad just stood there and was saying things like, you know, I was going to be civil with you, you know, we could work this out. And he just kept his temper, and he didn't respond in kind, you know, he didn't react to it as most of us would. And it got to the point where the woman's husband sort of was getting really embarrassed for her and sort of, shut up, you know, you're embarrassing me. And they did eventually calm down, and everything got sorted out. But I always remember that, just because I felt so proud of Dad for taking the higher ground and just being the same person in the situation. And I still often think, you know, that's the kind of person that I aspire to be. So that's just a small example and an important one for me.
You are making
It's funny, you know, I mean, that was just a minor event during the day, but it's those little things that stick with you, and it's the kind of thing that I'll take to my people often ask me how I became so fearless in terms of DIY and just doing stuff. You know, if I need to do something, I just do it. If I need to do something, I just do it. And that's you just join it together. Yeah. What? Fire up, we won't go. But yeah, I mean, and people ask me that question, and I always just say, it's my dad. You know, when I was growing up, Dad was fearless. You know, if something needed to be done, if an extension needed to be built, or plumbing needed to be done, or electricity stuff needed to be done, or whatever, you just go and do it. And that's how I am, and that's another thing that I credit Dad with.
I've known things up.
And so, what about Mum? Well, Mum is the cement that holds us all together. Her strength and her integrity, her sense of right and wrong, just right as well. She's been the linchpin of the family. Yeah, the right and wrong thing. I mean, you can't put a value on that. I think I often tried to challenge it, but I'm still here and survived and didn't end up in jail. So. But you know, it's all values that you learn and you take with you. And you know, I'm very proud of Mum, and I think Mum did a wonderful job in holding everything together. You know, when you were the only one holding the fort. And all that time, you know, Mum had Dad away fighting fires and stuff like that, and never knew he was going to come home. And it must have been quite a time. So I'm very proud of them both. And I'll pass this over to Jen.
Right, so there's something very peculiar about hills, and I don't know what it is, whether it's hearing. It can't be hearing because Robin's like him. She's got perfect hearing. We have these most bizarre conversations where one person will say something, another person will say, "What did you say?" And they'll repeat the sentence, and it will sound vaguely like the sentence they've just said, but absolutely nothing like it. And when Peter and I were thinking about how to write this, he said, think of a conversation. How am I supposed to, there's been hundreds of them, how am I supposed to think of this conversation? So then we went off piece and we're talking about something else, thinking about something else. And Peter kind of had a look around my school, and I just said to him, "Oh, by the way, David said he thinks that you and I look alike." And he stopped and he looked at me and said, "David thinks that I need a colonic." And that's a perfect example of the kind of conversations that we have on a regular basis. And Robin does it well as well, so it's in the genes. It's the most bizarre thing. So I think, Peter, you're next on this one. Well, I think we wind this up now.
Well, I can't finish without, oh, that was Jenny's before, so. Anyway, I don't want to hold things up anymore. We've still here chatting for a while. I'm sure you all have mum and dad. I love them too. Tonight is your chance to so please take the opportunity. And the last thing to do is please raise a glass to mum and dad. Janice and Arf.
Who do I say this for? Who's next?
Well done.
Lorraine has very fun because I'm extremely short.